What's up? Welcome back to another great video. I'm cooking with Tammy, and today I'm going to show you how I make my delicious Cajun roast chicken recipe. I'm also going to show you how to put together an amazing brine that's going to bring all of the tenderness out of this chicken. So with all of that being said, let's get to cooking. The ingredients that I'm going to be using to make my Cajun brine are so basic, but trust and believe it's going to create the best flavor ever. What we have is we have some Cajun seasoning. We also have granulated sugar, salt, dried rosemary, as well as garlic cloves, and we also have some fresh thyme. I'm going to start with chopping up my garlic, and I'm just going to rough chop it. I'm not going to chop it too finely, just a quick basic rough chop. And the reason why I'm rough chopping it is because I want all of those aromatics, once it hits the water, to be released. To this water, and I have about 16 cups of water to be precise, we're going to start off with adding our Cajun seasoning, as well as our granulated sugar, a pinch of salt. I'm not going to add too much salt because our Cajun seasoning does contain salt already. I'm also going to add our dried rosemary, and I'm going to give it a good mix. And just in case you're wondering, this was cold water that I heated up slightly. All right, we are done with the brine. What we're gonna do is we're gonna allow it to sit on the stovetop just for a little bit because we need it to cool off. In the meanwhile, we're gonna work on washing our chicken and seasoning up our chicken. By that time, hopefully our brine should be cool enough. If not, we're gonna add some ice cubes and cool it down. We have a whole chicken, and this chicken is about 6.5 pounds. Juicy one. We're gonna start by removing the plastic, obviously. Just gonna take my kitchen shears and get in there. We're gonna start by taking out the chicken parts. We have the chicken, let's see, the chicken neck, as well as the gizzards, and so on and so forth. And I think the chicken heart as well. We're gonna go in and we're gonna separate the skin from the flesh. Now here's the thing, when you're dealing with chicken, you gotta be gentle when separating the skin from the flesh because the chicken skin is a lot more delicate, and you don't want to get in there and like literally tear the skin, because you want to keep that skin intact because you want the chicken to keep its moisture, right? Yes, the skin works as a protective barrier. Whether or not if you eat the skin, it's always good to keep it on there because it keeps it nice and tender. Now after the cooking process, if you're gonna take the skin off, then hey, so be it. Not a problem whatsoever. With the turkey skin is a little on the tougher side, so of course you can go in there and, you know, rough it up a little bit and nothing is gonna happen. And this is definitely a quick process. The skin is pretty much released already. And as you can see, I'm just using like 1 to 2 fingers to get it done. And the reason why I'm separating the skin from the flesh is because I want to be able to like literally add seasoning onto the meat of the chicken, not just the top. We're not just gonna, you know, add sprinkle seasoning on top and call it a day. Nah, we're not doing that over here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna season every part of the chicken, both skin and flesh. Get in there, get those little legs separated from the skin as well. Flip it on over. Just like that. And this is obviously the back part of the chicken. Same thing applies. Get that finger. Separate that skin. And this part doesn't take time at all. However, if you've never done this before, take your time. I don't care if it takes you an hour. Take your time to get it done properly. Only thing is, I'm going to tell you, make sure your chicken stays cold. If you're going to be working with it for an hour, make sure you put some ice cubes in the sink at least to keep it nice and cool. And excuse the raspiness in my voice. I do a lot of talking, so yes, every now and then my voice goes in and out. Let's get this part up. Come on, cooperate. Perfect, perfect, perfect. This is absolutely perfect. We're going to be able to get seasoning on every part of this chicken. This chicken is going to be so flavorful, so tasty, and it's going to be banging. I know you guys see right here, there's some fatty portions or some fatty parts. What we're going to do is we're just going to take our hand and just pull it off, just like that. If you can't get it off with your hand, then just cut it off with scissors or a knife. Anyway, it's about that time. We're going to rinse it off in some cold water. And yes, that's not just it. We're going to rinse it off in cold water, wash it down with some salt, as well as fresh lemons. And make sure the water is cold. Frio. It has to be cold. If not, you're going to pre-cook your chicken if you wash it in warm water or even hot water. You don't want to do that at all whatsoever. Make sure that water is nice and ice cold. Keep this chicken nice and cold. Boom. Just like that. First thing we're going to do is we're going to add some salt. Add a little salt to the top. And why do I add salt? Because it kills, it kills the germs. Also, it works as an abrasive to take off any little whatever. And it also gets the job done, obviously. That's why I like to use salt. And then I love to go in there with the lemons after. When it comes to cleaning the chicken and you adding the salt to the top, you could be gentle but yet aggressive, if that makes sense. You want to be in between. Not too aggressive to tear the skin, but aggressive enough to clean it properly. Put a little salt in your hand, just like that. Get under there. Scrub those breasts really good. Flip it on over. Get the back as well. And what I like to do is when I go to the grocery store, I like to maybe purchase like maybe 10 boxes of salt. Just for cleaning purposes. It doesn't have to be expensive salt. Just any type of salt, whether it be 59 cents, $1 or less. Especially if you know this is what you're going to be using it for. That's what I do. Get under those little armpits. Alrighty. Flip you on over. Get those elbows and armpits as well. Get all in there. Just like that. We're also going to go through the back. I still have some salt on my hands. And that way you kind of get rid of that gamey smell and taste. I'm going to also squeeze some lemon juice on top of it as well. Rub it down with some lemon. Get it real good. Flip it on over. Repeat the same process. And this is a chicken. It's much smaller than a turkey. The turkey that we were working on was what, guys, like 12 pounds. So yeah, this is like literally half the size, 6.5 pounds. So this process is going to be so much quicker, definitely. We're going to tear the lemon. That way I could directly rub it onto the chicken just like this. Also, when it's this size, I could literally slide it on up in there and get the job done. Get the inner cavity real good, scrub it down real good. Perfect. Raise it up and give it a good rinse. Lift that skin up. Allow the water to hit the flesh as well. And when it comes to the chicken parts, you can honestly use this if you're making like a cornbread stuffing. You could literally wash it the same way with a little salt, lemon juice, and rinse it off, pat it dry, and add it to your stuffing as well. However, I'm not going to be making any stuffing today, so there's no need for me to keep this. But that's just a little tip just in case you want to use your chicken parts. And we are finished. Place it onto some paper towels and pat it dry really good. And this is it when it comes down to the washing process. I have a large pot that's lined with a baking bag, and the reason why I added the baking bag is because it makes it a lot easier when it comes to rotating the chicken inside of the bag. So what we're going to do is we're going to place our chicken inside of the bag. And our brine is finally nice and cool. What we're going to do is we're going to add it to the chicken. Perfect. And we're gonna place it breast side down because this is the thickest part of the chicken. And I want all of the brine to literally penetrate throughout the thickest part of the meat. And the great thing about it is it's more than enough liquid to cover the entire chicken, which is great. We're gonna add our garlic pieces. Get that water nice and flavorful. And we're also gonna add our fresh thyme. Press it down in there. Perfect. Even though I didn't mention an onion while we were introducing the ingredients, I'm gonna add an onion. Yes, I am. And I'm only adding half of an onion. We want all the flavor we could possibly get. All right? Alrighty. And I'm also gonna add some lemons. Just literally half of a lemon. Because it's only 6 pounds. Not like we're working with a big old turkey where we gotta add like 4 to 5 lemons. We're gonna cover it on down. Allow this chicken to sit in the brine and marinate for about 2 to 3 hours. And I'll show you guys exactly what to do once we come back. The ingredients that we're going to be using for our Cajun butter are, we have some Cajun seasoning right here. We also have onion powder, Montreal Chicken Seasoning, as well as chicken bouillon, ground black pepper, paprika, dried thyme, dried parsley, garlic powder, and some dried rosemary. And we also have about 1.5 sticks of butter. And just in case you're wondering, it's salted butter. We're going to add our Cajun seasoning to our butter, as well as our onion powder. Add it in here. Chicken Montreal seasoning, chicken bouillon, which is going to amp up the flavor in our chicken. We also have some ground black pepper, smoked paprika, and we have our dried thyme, dried parsley, as well as our dried rosemary, and our garlic powder. That's a lot of seasonings, right? Yes, it is. But so what? Our chicken is going to be off the hook. It's going to have a ton of flavor. And most of the products that we use, they don't contain salt. Anyway, we're going to get in there. We're going to mix this butter on up with all of these wonderful seasonings. And we're going to create a delicious Cajun seasoned butter. And this is it right here. I'm going to allow my chicken to brine for about 30 more minutes. In the meanwhile, I'm going to place my butter back into the refrigerator. It's been about 3 hours so far. Let's check on our chicken and let's see what's going on. Wow. I gotta be honest, when I took the lid off, the smell of this brine is like, it just smells so good. So I know this chicken, once we season it up really good, it's gonna be so delicious. I was like, wait a minute, did the brine mature the chicken? Did our chicken grow some extra breastises or something? Like, what is going on? What is going on with that brine? Is it that powerful? Goodness. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to rinse the brine off. And I know I had somebody ask me earlier in the comment section, why are we rinsing off the brine? We're rinsing off the brine because guess what? The brine has already done what it was supposed to do. It did exactly what it set out to do, which was literally locking the flavors deep within the meat. We're going to rinse it off in some cold water. Just a quick rinse. Alrighty. And trust me, we're not losing any flavor because the flavor is already embedded within the meat of the chicken. So we're not losing anything. Gonna take a paper towel, just basically pat it dry. That was too funny. I'm gonna place it on the countertop and get ready to season this chicken up real good. I went ahead and placed the chicken into this baking pan right here, and as you can see, I already lined it with foil paper. It definitely helps with the cleanup process. It's so much easier. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take our delicious Cajun seasoned butter that we made earlier, and we're gonna take a good amount of it, right? This should be perfect. And we're gonna mold it into a ball just like that right here. That's why it was important to not have the butter be too soft. And even if the butter was soft, place it into the refrigerator while the chicken is brining, and it will be hard enough to be able to mold it. We're gonna lift that skin up, and we're gonna take our ball of seasoning, and we're gonna place it in there just like that. Perfect. And we're gonna take our hands, And we're gonna just spread it. Because remember, the chicken is a lot smaller than the turkey, so it's gonna be a little harder to get our hands in there to maneuver. So once we get that ball going, all we gotta do is just spread it on out. Make sure the butter is evenly distributed throughout the chicken. Let's make sure everything is good. I'm gonna take some more seasoning, place it on this side right here, and do the same thing. Not to mention, once we place it into the oven and the heat starts to melt the butter, it's gonna literally melt all over the chicken. So even if we missed a spot, which I doubt we are gonna miss a spot, the melted butter is still gonna drip all over the chicken regardless. Gonna turn it around. Or should I say turn it on over. Stick some up in there as well. Do the same thing. And when we do it this way, it's a little bit less messy anyway than having to fight with melted butter, which could be so messy. Rub it up really nicely, give it a good massage. And we're gonna turn it around just like this. Spread it on down once again. Get in there, get in there. Good. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna deal with the outer part of the chicken. Get that seasoning all over. Perfect. We're gonna turn it over once more. And we're gonna take that seasoned butter. Gonna go in from the other side as well. And usually the breast part is the part that most people say is the driest. So we want to make sure we saturate the breast pieces with that butter. The butter is what's going to lock in the moisture and keep it nice and moist. Also, we raised the skin earlier in the leg area, which is perfect. So we're going to go in with our fingers and season that area as well. Take some more butter. Season it up really good. We're also going to take some of that butter and place it into the cavity of the chicken. Rub it around really good. We are looking good so far. These wing parts right here, the wing is the part that cooks the quickest, and we don't want our wings to burn by the time the thickest part of the chicken starts to cook. So what we're going to do is we're going to just take the wings, bend it back like that, and place it behind the chicken. So that way it protects it from getting burnt. Everything cooks evenly, and we have that nice even brown color going on, and nothing is going to be a little darker than the rest of the other parts. As you can see, our chicken is nice and situated in the pan. And I know you're probably like, wait a minute, the foil looks a little different. What I did was, because the foil had a lot of the seasoned butter, and once you place it into the oven, that butter is going to melt obviously and get into the oven and create like a smoky situation, and the alarm is going to go off and it's going to be a hot mess. So what we did was we just took the foil and just basically lift it up. That way it secures everything. We're not going to have any oil dripping into the oven. We're going to also roast some potatoes with our roast chicken. We have the red potatoes as well as some yellow potatoes, and I'm just going to go in and cut it just like that down the middle. And of course we're going to cut it in fours. And I'm going to cut them in chunky sized pieces, only because our chicken is going to take some time to roast. And if I was to cut the potatoes any smaller, the potatoes are going to be cooked way before the chicken, if that makes sense. So we want to kind of have that equal balance. So we're cutting the potatoes in chunky bite-sized pieces. And we're just gonna go ahead and place the potatoes into the baking pan, just like that. No particular order, of course. Get it all in there. And the juices from the chicken is gonna get into the potatoes. And let me tell you, it's gonna be so flavorful and delicious. It's gonna be everything. I'm not gonna add any seasoning to the potatoes because we have all this seasoning going on right here, and once everything starts to break down, we're gonna have a lot of gravy, and we're gonna have, you know, it's gonna be nice and saucy, and it's gonna saturate our potatoes perfectly. So there's no need to add extra seasoning. Also, gonna add a little bit of olive oil to the potatoes, just to help them so they don't burn. All right, and give it that nice olive oil flavor. Also, we're gonna add just a tad bit of olive oil to the top of our chicken because we don't want the butter to burn. Now, if you have regular oil, so be it. Use your canola, veggie, or even corn oil. Doesn't matter. Just sprinkle a little bit on top. That way it prevents the butter from burning. Also, I have an onion as well, and I'm gonna add it to our pan. Just gonna go in and slice it. No specific size. Place it in the cavity right there, get those aromatics going. We don't need to add any liquid to this pan because our chicken has a lot of liquid that's still inside of it. And once that heat starts to hit it, a lot of it is gonna drain out, so we're good. We're gonna cover our seasoned chicken with foil, but we're not gonna cover it over, if that makes sense, because we don't want the foil to touch this part right here. Because what's the point of putting the seasoning on if you're gonna take it off with the foil, right? We're gonna do what's called the Temp method, and I did the same method when we made our Cajun turkey recipe. All right, we're gonna secure the sides with the foil. The other side is already secured, so we're gonna bring it on over as you see, and we're just gonna secure this side as well, all without touching the middle of the chicken. Lock it in there really good. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna crease the top just a bit to make it an official tent. And we are finished. Into the oven we go. See you guys later. It's been about 75 minutes so far, an hour and a quarter. And this is where we are at this point. Doesn't this look absolutely delicious? What I did was, because it's a tight space that we're working with, I did take out some of the potatoes that were in the front. And they're like right here, only because I want to be able to baste our roast chicken with some of that delicious gravy that's at the bottom of the pan. Trust me, the drippings have all of the flavors locked inside. We're also going to take some of it and we're going to drizzle it onto the potatoes as well. Lock some of those flavors in. This roast chicken is going to be so delicious. I'm going to take the potatoes, we're going to place it back into the pan. Allow it to pick up even more flavors. And at this point in time, we're going to place back into the oven uncovered. Only because we want the chicken at this point to brown up perfectly. Also, we want that internal temp of at least 160 degrees Fahrenheit. And once we take it out of the oven, it's going to continue cooking anyway. So at that point in time, once the thickest part is 165 degrees Fahrenheit, we are in business. 1 hour and 45 minutes later, and look at our delicious beauty. Our Cajun roast chicken is done. Our potatoes, check it out, cooked to perfection. And just like I said, all of the seasonings and everything, check it out. We didn't have to add any extra liquid because all of that liquid and all of the seasonings and the butter, once everything was melted, it became one and it saturated our potatoes. So they're gonna have amazing flavor as well. But check out the color consistency. Not only can you see those herbs and everything that's sitting on the top of the chicken, which is absolutely beautiful, and let me tell you, tasteful. Now here's the thing, the Temp method definitely helped out with that situation, giving us that even color. However, during the last 15 minutes, I wanted the skin to be a little bit more crispy and I wanted it to be a little darker. So what I did do was I removed the foil, turned off the oven, and turned on the broiler setting on low for about 15 minutes to darken up the chicken just a little bit more. And we are done. What we're gonna do is we're gonna allow our chicken to rest for about 30 minutes before cutting into it, because I want all of the seasonings and flavors and everything to get all soaked up into the chicken. And let me tell you something. One thing, when you're dealing with meat, it's always best to let it rest before cutting into it. It just makes it oh so much better. It's been about 30 minutes so far, and it is time for us to cut into our chicken. Yes, let's see, let's see. Ooh, look at that right there. Look at all of those juices. When I tell you, we're putting the misconception of dry chicken to rest, this is what it is right here. There goes your proof. You see all of those juices just running down the chicken as we cut into it? That's our indication that, guess what? This chicken is going to be not only flavorful, but massively juicy. Check it out. You see those seasonings right there all locked in? Check out the meat. It's nice and juicy. Wow. Eat up, eat up. You want to take a taste? I bet you do. Take a taste and tell me what you think. OMG, absolutely delicious and flavorful. This right here is everything. Oh my goodness. When I tell you cook perfectly, not to mention seasoned to perfection. It's not salty. It has just the right amount of flavors, seasonings, and all that. This right here is definitely a Cajun roast chicken. So delicious. Not to mention our potatoes. Nice and tender. We have all of the flavors locked into the potatoes. These potatoes are going to be everything as well. Anyway, guys, as always, who am I? I'm your girl cooking with Tammy. Definitely give this recipe a try. As always, don't forget to share these recipes because sharing is caring. And I will catch you guys in another video. Talk to you later. Bye, guys.